Okay, so in this video, I'm talking about chapter 3. And chapter 3 introduces you to arrays as well as some if statements, for loops, while loops, and the switch statement. So, as well as the continue statement. So now you actually get to some of the stuff that allows you to actually do make decision making. Um, I'm going to use some of your y'all actually going to use the code from your PowerPoints because it's easier for me to copy and paste instead of actually making them my own. Uh, but yeah, so you have so the first thing they talk about is actually making arrays, and we are going to in this particular chapter. We're actually going to um, mainly use what they call literal arrays, and that's basically when you actually tell you make an array and you tell the array and you manually put in the contents of the array. Okay, and you can do I think in chapter 8 that's when you start being able to actually manipulating arrays, putting adding elements to the array, taking stuff out, all that good stuff. So, but today we're just going to talk about just arrays in general, how to set them up, and to and also talk about some of the if some of the functions, if statements, while statements, and all that good stuff. All right. So the first code, a piece of code that your book or your PowerPoint talks about, is talks about how you can. Let me see if I can find actually making one. Yeah. So let's go ahead and actually make an array. Yeah. So you're going to actually when the way you're going to do your array, you're going to just declare it just like it's a like a regular variable. So I think it does cars. I think let's do cars. Let's do cars. I also think in your book I think that talks about cars too, I believe, or something like that. So let's do cars. All right. Now to declare a array, you have to have it inside, or you have to make not angle brackets, but square brackets. All right. So in the square brackets, this is where you can either type in your information directly. So you can say, oops. So inside of the array, you can each element of the array is actually in, especially if it's a string, they're inside quotation marks, and that's a comma after each element of the array. So cars. Let's talk about. Oops. Thank you. Let's talk about. See if I can spell Toyota today. Nope. Easy. So I got a key. I do a key. How about that? Oops. Um. Let's see what else we got. Ford. There you go. Trying to keep it simple. Since I can't spell today. What else? Kia, Ford, Volvo, Chevy, and I said Volvo, so it makes Volvo. Maybe I can spell Volvo today. Nope. That's all. Yeah, Volvo. There you go. All right. So there is your yes. So there is your initial um, array. All right. So close that out. So now, if I wanted to ask, so if I wanted to actually, I won't say repeat the array, but actually ask for the array. I can say you have a document dot write, and I can tell it just to write my array out. It may ask me to also put in my angle brackets. Yeah, so I need to, let's see, array. Let's say chapter 4, or this is chapter 3. Chapter 3. All right. All right. Round one. All right. All right. There it is. Then it pops it out. So it goes my key, blah, 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 all that good stuff. See? All right. I knew it was going to put it in there. All right. So there you have, our a simple array. And if you wanted to, let's see, let's see if we do something simple. Let me actually turn this into a function. All right, there we go. All right, so now I got my function, and I am going to do my unload, so it will load when I load my page. So go ahead and close you up. Let me change this to, let's say, my array. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. I must have override on, obviously, because this is keeps taking my stuff off. All right. All right. So there you go. All right. Let's see what else can we do here. Yeah. So if you want to, we can actually add another add another one. So if you wanted to, you can tell um, JavaScript. Yeah, so I want to add a. We can okay. I want to add another one, and there's it will let you do that. I'm trying to see now. I know that's not it. I did not spell Toyota. Oh my god. Right. Oh boy, there you go. Yeah, I saw that somewhere. Yeah, open German car. All right. There, because now I have my Opel in there. All right. Now, so if I wanted to, I can tell it to. I can tell it to actually just tell me which one is it. So I can say cars. Fucking cars, and with my angle brackets or block brackets, I can put in the number of the element of the array that I want. So, so I'm going to bring up this. I pick I want the third element of the array. So it should give me the should give me the Vavo. Should give me Vavo. Because remember, in arrays, the first element is always zero. So zero, one, two, three. So it should be Vavo. Yeah, there you go. Yay! All right. Now you can add elements to an array. Um, see if I want to show y'all that right now. I actually might show y'all that. I'll show it because that's actually in chapter 8. Actually adding stuff to an array. Um, yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you that later. I don't want to get too ahead. All right. Trying to see what else. Yes, it also talks about in here. It also talks about the array object, which you can also use too. So instead of actually making just telling it to actually to make a literal array, you can actually use the array object, and you basically you'll basically get the same result. Um, so let me see here. Yeah, so let's say I want to make I'm gonna comment this out, and I'm gonna make an array using the array object. Let's see here. I'm gonna comment this out. I may end up bringing it back anyway. All right. Yeah, I'm starting to use keyboard shortcuts because this is gonna be uh more. It'd be less time consuming. All right. Um, variable. This two colors. I think you in the book. I think it does colors. I believe maybe a little bit easier too. Colors equals, and then you can tell it actually make a new array. New array, and you will tell it how many. Uh, let's do six. Yeah, how many characters you want in it, or how many elements you want in it. So, there. So if I wanted to so if I want to know like how many, right now it's undefined because I don't have anything in there. So if I do tell it to do a document dot no do a it'd be colors dot length, it'll actually tell me how big, or it actually tell me how many elements are in it. All right, and make it come out real quick. It tells me I have 6 elements in there. All right. Now, if I wanted to, and you probably saw this as I was doing this, it actually tells you all these different I won't say attributes, but all of these different tools you can use to actually use all this you can actually use to manipulate your arrays. And your book for this chapter actually has a really cool example. If you haven't taken a look at the chapter, go ahead and take a look at it because it's actually really cool. And if you work through some of the examples too. Yes, undefined because I don't have anything in there. Oh. Yeah, because I told it to tell me the values of it, but there's no values in there, so it just told me it was undefined. So that's right. So that's ways you can actually make an array. Like I said, we'll get into so much more detail later. Your book also talks about how you can use what they call the a get element by tag name, and this allows you to use an array to look up particular elements of HTML elements in your document. Um, let's see if I can do this real quick. See if I can do a real quick example real quick. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna do a paragraph tag. All right, and I'm gonna say, of course, do the hello world. Hello world. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take you out. I'm gonna actually go ahead and take you out too. I'm gonna bring back my cars here. All right, and here inside of my HTML, not HTML, but my JavaScript, I'm gonna type my document. Now get element by tag name. And have my p tag in there. Oops. So my paragraph tag, and then I'm gonna tell it which variable I want it to use, or which element I want to use. So let's put it. Let's do two. Let's do two. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got. Thank you. Hello world. Let's make this a little bit more. Hello world. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. Dot get element by ID, and I don't have an ID down here. I actually don't think I can use Git, can I? I'll try anyway. It may pop out an error saying you can't do that. All right. Do high. All right. So now I have my ID in there. Dot inner HTML, and I'll do equals get. All right. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm gonna have using my p tag. All right, my paragraph tag, and using the ID from it. I'm going to have it try anyway. Have it replace. Well, I should call that cars actually. That's the one. It's going to replace the I can make that. I can take that out. It's basically what it's going to do. It's going to take. I don't even need that. What am I doing? It's going to use. It's going to take these. What is it? The second element, or it should be Chevy element of the array, and it's going to put it right here where our paragraph tag is. And I'm thinking the way I have this set up is not going to work. Mm-hmm. But you have my array function loading, and that's what I didn't think it was gonna work. should be P2, yeah. Yeah, I know this will work. I know that'll work, but that's not what I want. Uh, right. Yeah. How come it's not giving me my interesting? Should be cars. I just had to do P. I thought I was gonna need to. All right. So I didn't do what I wanted. Fine. P that way. All right. But you can actually use the. We were saying you can actually use the tag or the paragraph tag or any type of HTML tag to look up. You can actually use the array to actually look up what's in there. Let me wait a minute. Let me do an let me do an H3 tag then. Did I save it? Yeah, I did save it. Yeah, I didn't replace it. All right. Cause I thought I was gonna actually look up the H3, but I didn't. All right. So so now let's actually get to the good stuff. All right. So talking about loops and if statements and all that good stuff. So we so I think a few years yeah we were doing the I think chapter 2 assignment and we had you doing the calculations for the math problems. A few of you guys actually did it in if statements and that was fine because you basically got the same result. Um, so but you can also but so you can actually so now we actually get into if statements and now we can actually start playing with a little bit more as well as actually doing loops. So I'm trying to think of what we can do. So actually, yeah, messing with this, let's actually still keep playing with our array here. So say if car 3, oops, wrong one, 3, 3 equals, um, equals, let's see, because it is 3 in there, say forward, oops, forward, then, then you can say, document that right, you know, um, say correct, yeah, that's it correct. That's a good car right there. Uh, I got to say else statement. My curly brackets. And I say else. Document dot write. Like document dot write. See, that's a bad car. Yeah. I'm gonna go and put my. All right. So let's see this. Let's see if this come up. I'll take you out. See this. So trying to play with both, my arrays and stuff on here. Yeah. So there it is. So see, that's a bad car because the third element of that array was not forward. If I change it, 0, 1, 2, 3, Volvo. Volvo. Volvo is now should tell me, okay, that's a good car. Yeah, that's a good car. All right. So if I wanted to, all right. So that's a simple if statement. So it's actually so you have the if you equal your whatever your expression is, whatever. Then you have your curly braces around it. Inside the curly braces, this is where you have all your information, all of your logic stuff, and you have the else statement. That if you want to do an else, you have the else statement, and also notice too that the else statement it also has curly braces on it or curly brackets on it. And anything you want to do with your else statement, it has to be in between the curly braces. I'm trying to see what else I can do here. All right, so let's try. Okay, so we have that in there. I actually probably go ahead and close. I'm gonna comment this out because I may come back to that example in a minute. But I'm gonna start talking about now. I'm talking about some while loops and some for loops and all that good stuff. And I also start do a counter too. I'm trying to now. I'm actually trying to think of what I'm gonna do with the counter. What example I'm gonna use with the counter? Um, all right. Leave me alone. Yeah, I know I have something over there. Leave me alone. All right. Um, let's do the while loop first. All right. So, so with the while loop, you have the while keyword, whatever your expression is inside the parenthesis, and then in the curly braces, you have in between the curly braces, you have the information that you want to do. So, uh, so actually, let's keep using our example, right? So, while cars, this may not work. Two equal to no that's not gonna work. All right. Yeah, like I said, I was gonna use your get steal some of this code from off your the PowerPoint. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So in your PowerPoint, there it is. All right. So it has some example to play with. So here it actually uses a counter. All right. And so you have so it actually declares a variable of count, and it's gonna be equal to 1. So in the while loop, it says if the count is less than or equal to 5, then you're going to move the count variable, and you're going to concatenate it with the break. So it's going to break it to the next line. Then with with the count, you're going to actually have the counter on it. And when you have the plus, two pluses, that's when you're actually adding um, a I would say a cycle to the loop. I guess you can call it, or what they call the iteration. You can add it to the loop. If you want to do minuses, it actually counts it down. All right, so yeah, because it's right now it says 5. So if I were to run this right now, what are you doing? Oh, for the function. Oh, I was like, what the? Okay. I was like, what in the world? Okay, there you go. All right, so now when I click on it, when I run it, it it runs the loop all the way to 5, and it says you printed 5 numbers. So no matter how many times I can actually put this in 10, and it will print out 10 numbers. Yeah, I didn't change it down here, but if I wanted to do it like a countdown, I can just put the minuses in there, and it'll count backwards. Did I kill it? It was just like an infinite loop. Ha! All right. Yes, it's less than I think there's infinite loop. Yep. Bum 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 bum. All right. All right. So count. Yeah. So I'm gonna count to 10, and I'm gonna tell it to do. It's greater than 0. Yeah, because you're gonna start with the count of 10, and then because we're telling it to go down, should be less. Yeah, because you had telling it to go down. Right here, telling it to go down. It's gonna start and it'll go down all the way down to 1. I think it's blast off. I think it is, or lift off or something like that. Lift off something. I think this example your book has, I believe. Ha ha ha! Killed it. Awesome. All right. Let me try this again. Next, I should be able to move it. Okay, lift off. Where's my stuff? Okay, it did not like my. How come I didn't print out my numbers? Alrighty then. Let's see. F12. Alright. There it is. Anything on the console? Nope. And this is the goal I actually copied directly from your PowerPoint. Oh, yeah, because I'm still having that talent to do an auto load for my array, so that shouldn't be an issue. And, huh. And it's not picking it up. Interesting. I think this was supposed to be. Well, it's not. It's not printing out the count. Hmm. How come it's not working? All right. Like I said, this came directly from your book and from the PowerPoint. All right. We can't get our lift off. Ooh. Oh, ooh. I lied. That is not directly from your PowerPoint. Because it's supposed to be 0 and not 10. Huh. Now it should work. There you go. All right, yeah. So I had the count being greater than 10. I was like, wait a minute, how can it be greater than 10 if you're actually counting down? So it has to be the count had to be greater than 0. All right. See, that's your problem right there. All right. Trying to see what else. I'm actually looking through your um some generic stuff. All right. So that is your simple while loop. All right. So I'm gonna try do an example of a do while loop, and it's the exact same logic that you have in Java. And I don't think the syntax is different either. Um, all right. So I'm slowly. All right. So I'm gonna do while loops. If basically it continues the do part. You have the information, and then it continues to do it until um, the expression is true. So there you go. Yeah, I'm using I think I told you before. I'm using Visual Studio, and it actually has autocomplete for some type of code for some type of elements. So I'm actually using So that's the reason why I'm actually typing in all this stuff, because I'm actually using their quick keys for the different statements. All right. So my do part, um, because like I said, I'm stealing your stuff. Yeah. So one of the examples that they have in your book. Yeah, one of the examples that they have in your book is a do while loop that's going to count up. Is it by 2? Yeah, if I knew I was going to do this, I should have. Just there you go. I want it in there. All right. So what this is gonna do? Yes, that's the wild part. So what this is gonna do is gonna write out. Okay, so the count has a count of two. All right. So it's gonna keep adding up the count until it gets to until it's gonna keep counting up until it gets greater than two. Why? If it gets greater than two, then it's gonna stop. All right. The count is equal to two. All right. Yeah. Because that's what we told it. We told it that the count was equal to two, and said it has to be. If it's true, then shipping that's not equal to two. Wow, that's gonna mess it up. I can guarantee it. I might even get an infinite loop. It won't let me say. Oh, excuse me. All right. Like I can smell an infinite loop coming a mile away. Oh, count to five. Okay, there it did do it. All right. So if the count is equal to five, then you can say the count is equal to five. Let's see if I can break it. I crashed it. Yep, I crashed it. Dun, dun, dun. All right. So I told it to do it. You'll see the infinite loop. All right. So I told it to be greater than two, which I mean the count is greater than two. So that is true, but it has to be in order for it to do it, it has to be false. All right. So it'll stop doing it until I have to shut it down. Credit just broke it. Okay, I'm back. They had to shut off Chrome to actually get rid of the infinite loop. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so okay, so that's a do while. Like I said, I'm copying and pasting. Yeah, if you, I highly recommend looking through the example that they have in your book in the chapter because it's actually really cool the way he actually has it set up. So yeah, in your book, you're basically using arrays and loops to actually complete this schedule calendar for a particular sports team. So the definitely how I remember taking a look at it because actually it's really cool at how they show you how to do it. All right, so the for loop. All right, so with the for loop, I'll show you the syntax. Yes, like I said, I'm actually getting code. So I'm actually going to use the one that I have. All right. Because I'm gonna put my array back in there. All right. So I'm going to what they did is they're showing you with the for loop. They actually made an array or declared an array, and you're using the for loop to write out the count of the array. So in this particular one, it's actually going to count out the. It's going to do the reverse. No, it's going to actually print out the array. So it has the count is equal to 0. The count is less than the length of the actual. Yes, it's the less than the actual length of the elements are in the or amount of elements that's in the array. It's going to keep adding up, and it's going to keep going and going until it actually gets to it finishes out the array. Just hold on. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So it finished out everything that's in the array because I told it to use all the elements of the array. But up here it's just it's at 5 elements, and it's pretty much spat out the elements. So whatever the count of the element, whatever the count of the array was, that's what it brought out. All right, so the next thing talks about in chapter 3 is talks about like the continuous statement, and that basically just stops the loop into stops the loop, and then actually it starts a new one, or starts a new loop, or continues within the loop. Like I'm still seeing examples from your there yeah, I'm still seeing examples from your um, PowerPoint. So if you want to find out some of the code that I'm doing, I'm actually doing it from the PowerPoint. All right, there you go. All right, so right here, it's saying for the count is equal to 1. Instead of count is less than equal to 5, that can continue doing the count. All right, that's the expression. And so it says if statement says if count 3 is exactly 3, stop it or restart it, and then it gives you and actually gives you the count. Let's try. 3, 4, 5. Did it? Yeah, so it can actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see, it actually skipped. It stopped at 3 because you told it at 3, and then it continued. So if I wanted, so I told it if it's equal to 3, stop it, and it kept going. So, if I did put the 2 in there, it's going to skip the 2. See, there you go. Trying to see what else. Switch. Yeah, so just like you have in Java, you do have switch statements in JavaScript. Bring you up. And they're set up the exact same way. So as you're going through along this course, you'll actually see there is um, there is I won't say some similarities between Java and JavaScript. So they're not two distant cousins, but they do have a lot of similarities to them. All right. Yeah, so for the switch, a lot of these things you can actually, especially if you're doing like if statements, you can actually rewrite the if statements as a switch, and it actually makes it your code a lot cleaner. I believe your homework is actually using taking some nested if statements and actually rewriting it to a switch. So, so, so let's make a switch. I'm finding out exactly what we're gonna make a switch for. Trying to think. Um, switch. There you go. So, trying to see what I'm going to do to turn it on. Switch. Um, let's actually see if we can stick with the array. We actually might be able to do, yeah, play with the array a little bit here. Oops. So cars. Okay, so let's say, so you have a variable up here, cars, which is our array. All right. Now you have, now you can make your, so you can actually make as many cases as you want. With the cases, these this is where you're going to put your statements or your code for your logic. So I'm gonna say in my case, call it, call it, call it 0. So I'm gonna say, oops, B. Okay, I'm gonna say, let's be cars actually. 0, or I can say, can't believe I did that. All right, all right. Now I'll make another case. See if now I'm gonna have it, and by each case, I'm gonna have it actually print out whatever position it is in the array. Oh, that's I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to have it do that one. Take you out. Let's just keep. Nice. Wait, two. Yeah, my code alignment is not very good. Yeah, and that's actually one thing too I like about Visual Studio is that if you're like me, I think that's it. I think, isn't it? Yeah, should be on the should be just 4, right? Okay, and with my default here, yeah, so with my default here, I'm going to tell it, let's actually just put out the whole array and see what happens. I think I may have to. This may not come out the way I want it to. Syntax error you talking about? Let's run. Typing something simple. Add a new car or buy a new car or whatever. I don't think this is gonna work. I really don't. Add a new car. All right. Mm-hmm. Cars is equal to. Press equal to 3. All right. It should push out. Undefined find for new car. Great. Oh, just equal to. It says 3 is not. Thinking why probably best help out of me able to do this. I probably should have added a prompt. That's what I think I should add a prompt. Right. I'm gonna add a variable called pick, and I'm gonna have it prompt the user for a number. All right. And so whatever number they pick, I don't think that's gonna write. It may. I don't think that's gonna work either. Pick a number. Well, and that prints out the whole new, the whole array. What I should have done is actually, instead of actually telling it to pick it up from the array, because it actually did pick it up from the array, as you can see. because I told it to go three. I think I picked the number three. I think it was, and it actually started from the third element. So if I put type in one, it actually picked up from the first element. Yeah, it's 0 1, so it picked it from the first element or for the number one element. I think it was four, wasn't it? I may just make it literal and do it that way, so you'll be able to see it back. Maybe a better example too. I have one open in it. Bravo. All right, so I have that in there now. I can actually take you out. I don't need you anymore. All right, all right. All right, let me try. All right, because I think the fifth element was add a new car, the default. So let me try it again. Try put number one, and it starts from the first one, so it still prints it out. Because I think it's gonna pick it up as a string. I think it picks up as a number. I believe. I think it does as an integer. All right. Yeah. Because so it has something in there. It has to have the. It does pick it up as a number or as a um, character, and you have to actually convert it to a number to an integer, so it can actually match one of the ones. All right. So let me stop playing around here for a minute. All right. Anyway, I didn't put my brakes in here. How come y'all didn't tell me that? All right. So that's probably why it kept loading everything. It kept printing everything out because I didn't have my brakes in here. Let me see. All right. All right. Now let's try this. I did put my parse back in there. All right. There you go. Yay! See, it's amazing what a break can do for you, you know? Okay. Yeah. So now it's actually printing out. So whatever number I type in there is now printing out what it's supposed to print out. So if I do it again, if I put eight in there, there's not eight elements in there. It's going to tell me add a new car because wait a minute, that's not in there. All right. Yeah. Yay. All right. So that's pretty much the gist um of chapter three. Yeah, it talks about it's first start talking about arrays and how you can actually use arrays and set arrays up. Like I mentioned in chapter eight, it actually goes a little bit deeper into how you can actually manipulate the content that's in the arrays. That's actually a pretty fun chapter actually that I like. I'll talk about switches in chapter 3 and how you can actually allow or make how you can use JavaScript to actually make decisions. Talked about looping, so you can actually so you can actually loop things over and over again. I do have one exercise I might have y'all do, um, and I may have y'all do it for extra credit. I don't know, because it was in one of the a couple of years ago, or actually, yeah, a couple of years ago, where we used another book. They actually had you looping, and actually, when you were looping, you were actually putting in information and actually making a table at the same time. So I may have that exercise for y'all. Me post it to see if you guys can do it, to see if you guys can just play with it a little bit. Um, so that is it for chapter 3. Um, if you don't have any questions, make sure you do your chapter 3 quiz, chapter 3 homework. If you have any questions, just email me, come on my office. I had a few of you guys come on my office already. Who for those of you guys who had questions, it's cool. Just come by if you need any help. And see you guys soon. See ya.